Yo, it's time to step into the business bubble.
Well, I'm going to teach you something.
Really?
This is what we do. In France, you go Chante.
Chante?
And
Do I have to hold...
You have to look at each other's eyes when you say Chante.
Chante?
It means you live in a moment and you acknowledge that you're being here with the other person. If you don't do that, you'll have 7 years of bad luck.
Ah, that sucks. So I've done 15, 16 episodes, so that's a lot of years of bad luck.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you asked me how I start my business.
Now, how did you start your business?
Well, being from the Asian background, I've always been creative. But being Asian, it's never been sort of approved, right? So I've always been doing chemistry, physics, maths, and my parents never let me go near the artistic subjects. To a point where my teacher demanded to speak to my parents. And I said to them, but my parents don't speak English. And then he gave up. So anyway, I was destined to be a chemical engineer by my parents. And one day, when my biggest brother got married, all the kids were in one place, which is really rare because we're all overseas. And we did a family portrait. Okay. And my dad literally said, and this is 1 week before I was meant to do my proper degree. And he said, why did that family portrait cost as much as my new TV? Do you want to do photography?
Oh.
I'm not kidding. That was literally how it started. And I just looked at him. I said, are you for real? He goes, yeah, do you want to do photography? I mean, at the end of the day, they just wanted to make sure that we can, make a living. And that was it. A week later, I was in Sydney doing Bachelor of Arts and majoring in photography.
That's just like that.
Just like that. My life just went flip upside down.
So how did you get your first job?
By myself my first job was in New York.
So
that was my first paid job. So I was studying there for a semester, and then a friend said to me, do you want to come and photograph this fashion designer who just launched his label? And I'm like, sure. So then I went to this basement, and they did a runway show, and I just photographed the designer and his new outfits, and I got paid $50 per photo.
Nice.
That was my first ever job. So far, I feel like God has been so gracious to me. I'm never out of work.
That's awesome.
The work is always there. I'm always keeping myself busy, and yeah, I've just been. I felt really blessed that I've been able to survive, but I don't have control over my finances or over my future. I was just riding the wave. Mm-hmm. So until I started to have some sort of sense of responsibility and a sense of control over how I want the future to be, then it starts shaping up. So I suppose this is when, the Bible says, my people perish because they have no vision. Mm-hmm. It's like that.
Yep. And then from there, what does your schedule look like now?
Oh my gosh, it's even more intense. Well, my life is really full on because I have 2 young children.
Yeah.
And we have destination jobs. So half of my work is in Europe. And then I'm also helping my husband as his interior designer with his development projects. And I'm also a host renting out Summer Hope House as a rental space for creatives to hire out for their commercial shoots. I also do portraits and brand shoots for businesses.
Wow.
And I do 10 weddings a year, half of them, overseas. So life is really full on. And
wow. Yes.
And I truly believe that the world is a much more beautiful place if we all just have more faith in our dreams. Don't you think?
Ah, yeah. That's why I have everything's Disney.
When people just chase and believe and give their dreams a chance, this will absolutely be a better place because your kids will be happier. You have such a sense of fulfillment in your life. It's going to impact your circle, and that will impact, their circle and collectively.
The risk is fun.
The risk is fun. And the risk is that you will regret it if you don't give it a go. Creative industry is not easy because you're dealing with, you're creating And then you're opening this door for people to kind of like judge you. So to grow out of that, to allow people to kind of like say, I like or don't like your work, you have a lot of growing to do. But you have no choice. You have to grow into that. But going through that is painful. So knowing your why you're doing your why is going to carry you through that. So if you don't have a why are you telling stories? Why are you choosing photography? The money reason is not going to cut it. So go and know your why. And secondly, just keep following your heart. Create what makes you happy. And that is going to eventually help you define your style and make you just someone unique.
And then where does storytelling come in for you there? So as a creator in photography,
Yes.
how does that storytelling come into that business, into that what you do, your craft?
Yes. The first story is my biggest why. So for many years, I've just been shooting beautiful things. And I started shooting fashion campaigns. So it's just like beautiful things, just creating beautiful things, beautiful models, at weddings. It's just beauty. Like I'm just creating beauty. And then I photographed a wedding, and she is a beautiful, darling friend. She ended up being one of my closest friends now. So she was a bride. And because she's very close, like we're super close, she started sharing with me stories about her days at work. And she will share stories about how, Amelia, we almost lost this guy, but we brought him back. And I was helping this guy get throat cancer out of him. Amelia, do you know that the most powerful, empowering thing you can do for a woman going through cancer and losing their breast is for them to choose, like my nipple color, because it's so empowering to them. And I hear all these stories and I'm like, oh my goodness, you're saving lives. And here I am, just vanity, making things look beautiful. Like what I do is just a want, not a need. And at that time, that was the time where I was actually starting to feel burnt out. Because I feel like I'm just creating beautiful things. Like I don't feel inspired. I don't feel... My clients are happy. And for all of my clients during that time, I still give them all my best. And I have... Like they're happy and I'm happy and I still love them. But I was going through that at the back of my mind. And then in 2018... I'm not kidding. I think it was 7 or 8 people in my circle who passed away. There is also a friend of a friend, but her story really shook me, and I wept for a long time because they lost a little baby, and that little baby was the same age as my little baby. So it was, it hits.
It hit, yeah.
It hits.
It was very personal.
Because it wasn't a tragic accident, and she said her biggest regret was that they have no family photo. And all of the families, I lost my father-in-law as well, my dear father-in-law. And everyone was looking for pictures. And the pictures that was the most valuable are not the ones looking at the camera. They're the hugs, the big laughters. And then that's when I realized, you know what? I don't save lives, but I save legacies. Yeah.
So is there a moment for you that you are reminded of to make sure that you continue to do what you're doing?
Yeah. So this is the third story. An email saying that, Amelia, my friend has stage 4 brain cancer. Would you be able to photograph her? Her family's coming. I wanted to surprise her with a photo session.
Yeah.
When we finished that photo shoot, maybe I'll share the last scene. The last scene, I turned on like a dance music. So this beautiful mom picked up her 5-year-old kid, flip her upside down, and I'm like, she's so strong. She doesn't look like someone who had, is fighting stage 4 brain cancer. And then the friend stood next to me and said, Amelia, do you know that a few months ago after her operation, she can't move half of her body? But she lived as if she's going to defeat whatever is going to come her way. She defied everything, you know, and we captured that. And when they were walking out of the house, I saw her limping. And that was when I just closed the door and just broke for 2 hours. Just like feeling so in awe at this mom's courage that despite the label or whatnot, she's gonna give her best. And the photos is gonna give her the moral support, the strength of visible and tangible manifestation of this is what she's fighting for. And that is just so beautiful, and that wakes me up. That inspires me that, you know, yes, I'm shooting all these magical, enchanting things that looks like fairy tales and dreams, but this is also real life, and this real life also have dreams in a different form.